now, tomorrow night, Spurs, Liverpool, it's a massive game, and it's hugely exciting, the prospect of it. John, one thing we know about both of these sides from the semi-finals of this competition, they both got character and they can both come back when they look like they're dead. Spurs 1-0 loss at home, so they've got an away goal against them and they're 1-0 down. Then Ajax score a second goal in the first half, early in the game actually, but they come back. So they've demonstrated a character, and of course they did at Manchester City in the quarter-final game as well. And Liverpool coming back from 3-0 down to win 4-0 at home to Barcelona. So character won't be in doubt tomorrow night, will it?
No, well, you don't get to the Champions League final, without character.
Yeah.
And both of them showed that in spades. There's no doubt. Spurs. It's a fascinating match because Harry Kane is a central figure to it all. Is he going to play? Is he not going to play? He's been out for 2 months, so he's a key player for Spurs. And I personally wouldn't start him in the match. I think he's been out for too long. But anyway, That's only my take. But it's a fascinating game. Liverpool, we know what they do. They're brilliant, and the run that they had in the league and the various things. And Spurs to come back in many matches, that they did. I think they lost about 3 or 4 matches in that particular competition, and still came back. So that they're both showing character. Pochettino's been a good manager. Klopp has obviously proven himself. So it's a fascinating game. I'm really looking forward to it. The terrific players on the pitch. The only guide we can go on is the Liverpool Spurs match a while ago in the league, where it was a very, very tight game, and Spurs could have won it maybe on that. I don't think they deserved to win it on the day, but they could have won it. And then Lloris made a bad mistake for Liverpool to go on and win it. So it's a fascinating game. I think it'll be a great game.
Yeah, Liam, Harry Winks comes back into the Spurs squad as well. He's a playmaker. He's a good footballer. Play in midfield. Would you agree with John about Harry Kane that maybe starting him after that sort of kind of absence, particularly because big heavy lad, it might take a bit of getting fit? Would you start him?
Well, Pochettino's been working with him now the last week. That's what we've told. He's been back in full-time training, and your eyes tell you everything. How you see how Kane is in training? Is he able to withstand heavy tackles?
Yeah.
Because that would be the worry if you've got an ankle injury and it's kind of a bit weak, or you've had a problem with the ligaments in your ankle. You really have to be able to take a tackle, and Pochettino will be watching what's going on in training. From the outside, you would say it's a little bit of a risk, because if he gets a heavy challenge early on, and Pochettino has to substitute him, well, that's, a bit of a disadvantage. But only the manager can be the judge, and only the player can demonstrate to the manager that he's fully fit. Kane says he is. If he is fit, he's too good a player not to start, Eamon.
Yeah, absolutely.
He's a proven goal scorer, and he's done it time and time again for Spurs. So if he is 100% fit, and Pochettino's convinced of that from what he's seen in training, I think he should play him.
Now, Liam, the bookies make Liverpool just odds on, and Spurs 4-1. I really think that's not the right odds. I think this is much closer than that. Would you agree?
Yeah, I do. I think that's too much in Liverpool's favour. I don't think Spurs should be that price. As John said, they've got character. They've shown that they come back. They've got goals in their team with Eriksen, with Kane, with Song. They showed that up at Manchester City when they got 3 goals to manage to get them through to the semi-final.
Yeah.
They've got different ways of playing. They can start with flat back 4, or they can play with wing backs. They've got strength in defence. The only weakness, I think, this season has been Lawrence, really, Eamon.
Yeah.
And when they've lost games, it's usually been down to some of his mistakes.
Yeah.
And that'll be an interesting one to see how he copes after an indifferent season in the league this year. If he copes well with the pressure of the game, but otherwise, they've got strength all over the park. Sissoko, who was looked to be a waste of money a couple of seasons ago, is now playing in that central midfield role. And I speak to quite a few Tottenham people who go week in, week out, and they say Pochettino's got him playing in a different way. He's playing really, really well. In my opinion, he lacks guile, but he certainly got the physical presence. And you know, they've got strength all round. They've got a lot of forwards that they could play, but is he going to be able to play them all, Eamon? If Kane is fit, Mora has been scoring goals just at the end of the season. They've got Ericsson, they've got Dele Alli, they've got Song.
Yeah.
Does he play all these forwards? That's going to be interesting for me, because if he does, I think Liverpool, you know, might do them on the counter attack. You know, when they did pass the counter attack, I think that Pochettino has to go maybe for some more presence in the middle of the park.
Yeah, John, in the Premier League this year, I mean, they've got quite a small squad, Spurs. They lost 13 games in the Premier League, which is a lot. And as Liam said, 2 or 3 of them I can think off the top of my head, down to Lloris and bad mistakes. But at the same time, this coach gets the very best you could possibly get out of his team. And having done what they've done in recent weeks, for 2 months actually, without Harry Kane, who's such a powerful goal scorer, such a prolific goal scorer, sometimes without Harry Winks also, he just seems to get the best out of them every time they play. Where do you think this is going to be won and lost?
Well, I would agree with Liam a lot. If Lloris is not doing his stuff, Eamon, then if a goalkeeper's not doing his stuff, you're going to lose the match. I mean, you only have to go back to last year, Liverpool themselves. The goalkeeper lost the game for them, you know, when they could well have won it. So if the goalkeeper's not doing his stuff, then you're in big trouble. So if you're a Spurs supporter, you got to keep your fingers crossed in that way, because even in the World Cup, although they won the World Cup, I think he was captain in the World Cup, he didn't have a good World Cup, Eamon.
No.
So if the goalkeeper's dodgy, then you're in big trouble. So that's fingers crossed as far as Spurs are concerned. But he has got the best out of him. He's done really well. He's hardly had, but they couldn't have the money to really strengthen the squad and all the various things. So they do show an honesty about them, which we spoke about Arsenal early on. That's your starting point. They will have a go. They'll do their best. If Kane plays and he is fit to do it, then he's a big player for them. I think Winks would be vital to them, because they don't have any real creativity in the middle of the field if he's not playing. You know, they've got a few warriors in there, but he's a young player, but he does get on the ball and he does dictate it for them. So I think he'd be a big player if he's fit enough to play in the match. So I think that's what makes it so interesting.
Now, John,
Spurs are capable of doing it. Liverpool have done it on a much more consistent basis as we've seen during the season, and they've been brilliant. But this is a one-off, and it could come down to the goalkeeper.
Let me ask you, John, you're the only person in this conversation who's played in the European Cup final for Leeds against Bayern Munich. I think it was in Paris, and I think it was 73 or 74.
Yeah, 75, yeah.
75. Now, John, you played a lot of big games. How much bigger in the player's mind is this particular game than any other, if at all? And I'm not talking about your mind, because your mind was a special piece of equipment. But I remember Roy Keane saying about a player in the Champions League semi-final who was shaking standing beside him. It was in the book I wrote with Keane. I think I won't name the player. But anyway, how big is this occasion?
Yeah, it's huge, Eamon. But most of the lads have been through big occasions, and the lads who. Yeah,
but what I'm asking you is, I mean, you were in cup finals, you were in huge league games. How much bigger is this that it would cause a Manchester United player, for example, to shake?
I don't know who the Manchester United player was. I don't want to know anyway, Eamon. But I'd be surprised, to be quite honest, that a player at Manchester United under Ferguson who didn't shake in other matches.
Yeah.
To be actually in the Champions League final. You know what I mean?
Yeah, sure.
I think when you're in the Spurs team and the Liverpool team, and they're pretty experienced players now.
Yeah.
You would have been shaken before this match, Eamon.
Right.
So I don't think it is a huge match, as you know. But there's a build-up to this game. Like if you look at there's one or two young players. Well, the young player in the right back for Liverpool, but the rest of the lads are experienced players. You know, they played in World Cup matches, they played in international matches, and if you have that experience behind you, this is another step. And in my opinion, I think the players who have it, and I think most of the players, well, I think all the players on the pitch that would be there to have it, would be looking forward to it, Eamon.
Right.
I'd be surprised if any of the players on either team, apart from Lloris, who might have a thing in his head, because he hasn't been playing well, would have that shakeability,
right.
you call it, or shakes, whatever we call it.
Okay, Liam, the same question really I'm asking you, because I actually don't agree with John. I think I often see these big showpiece games, and one team doesn't really turn up. Now you've been there as well with Juventus, with Arsenal Cup final. Do you think both teams will turn up, and do you think temperament, if you like, is an issue when you look at a game like this that you can't factor in until you see the game?
Yeah, but I think both teams are strong in that regard, Eamon. I don't think the temperament of either side is questionable.
Right.
They've done it over the course of 2 or 3 seasons when they had to win big games. They've won big games. I think Spurs have had the experience of, being in pole position to win the league, and they let it slip in their hands. Remember when they lost over at Chelsea?
Yep.
All those things you learn from. And I think this season's demonstrated, particularly how they came back against Ajax. That they're not questionable that way. I think they have character in the team. I think Liverpool have as well. I think Liverpool's problems were down to the personnel and they had in their teams. And last season was the goalkeeper. The year before that was Moreno playing left back. But they've made huge improvements in those positions. And I think both teams are going, in my opinion, with a full bill of health. I don't see any team bottling it on the night.
Okay. John, now one last question, or if you like a subtext to this game. Daniel Levy, the chief executive at Tottenham, for a long time now, he's been regarded, as a problem for the club. He won't spend money. The players were on bad contracts. Alex Ferguson said in 2008, when he was trying to buy Berbatov off Spurs, he said, Daniel Levy was more painful than my hip replacement operation. Now, last Sunday in the Sunday Times, which has a brilliant sports section, really, there's a full page a profile of Daniel Levy, and he is the hero. He is the man. This is the way football clubs should be run, the way he's run in Spurs, which is he won't go into an inflated transfer market. He certainly doesn't pay inflated wages. And he's now a kind of role model for other chief executives. It's quite ironic if Spurs were to win tomorrow night. He will be a hero. What do you think of that? Given the way,
I wouldn't agree. I don't see him as a hero. I mean, I see Pochettino as a hero.
Yeah.
To be doing brilliantly under very, very difficult circumstances. He's the real hero. I mean, it's very easy to be the hero by not spending money, Eamon, and the manager doing it for you.
Yeah.
Like the real heroes in his situation or in other clubs is people who do back the manager with money and have the confidence in the manager to do it.
Yeah.
It's funny the way the papers go, the journalists go. I mean, like only 2 weeks ago, or 2 months ago, when it looked like they weren't going to do it, he was the villain.
Yes,
and saying, get your hand. Even Pochettino was saying, look, you've got to get your hand in your pocket. You've got to be brave. You've got to be do this to do it. Even Pochettino was saying it at the start of the season. So I think it's Pochettino has performed a miracle, because it's very, very easy in Levy's position to say, I'm not spending money. I mean, the brave thing in his position is to back the manager with money. Who knows what they would have done, Eamon?
Yeah.
This season, if he had backed him.
Yes.
You know, as you say, they've lost, 13 matches in the
Premier League.
In the Premiership.
Yeah.
You know, like the Spurs should be challenging for the Premiership. If he'd had the real resources, Pochettino, they'd have been challenged for the Premiership and the Cup and all the other trophies that's going in.
Yeah.
Pochettino is the hero.
Yeah, Liam, it's a bit ironic, isn't it, that Daniel Levy has emerged as a kind of role model for other chief executives and other football clubs for not spending money.
Laughing, but I've stuck up for Levy between the three of us. I remember when you and John were saying, they're going to play these players. If they don't pay them, they'll all be off. But nobody's gone, you know?
Yeah.
And he seems to get the deals over the line. Now he has to cut his cloth accordingly. It's not his money; it's someone else's money. And the guy behind him is a fellow called Joe Lewis.
Joe Lewis, yeah.
Joe Lewis is telling him, "Look, you know, we're not going to spend too much. We've got a stadium to build. You've got to keep a cap on the wage."
Yeah.
I think Spurs pay really huge bonuses. And you know, the players know that if they produce it, they're going to get the rewards. I think in many ways he is a hero. I agree with John that he's Pochettino is the man that's doing it on the field with the players that he's got at his disposal. But if you look at Arsenal in comparison, to be losing Ramsey for nothing,
yes,
to have to swap Sanchez 18 months ago for Mkhitaryan.
Yeah.
To have Ozil's contract run out. Like that, those rubbish things are not happening at Spurs.
Right.
And that's down to Levy. So I think he deserves credit. Maybe not the Sunday Times kind of credit, but certainly recognition of the job that he's done.
Yep. And I don't know where I stand on him. Well, I think I'm with John, but I hear you.
Well, hang on a minute, Eamon. Look at Arsenal.
No.
They've only got 45 million to spend. They have nobody to sell.
Yeah.
And Ramsey's gone. How much is Ramsey worth in the transfer market?
Wow, a lot.
He's got to be worth 50 million plus, hasn't he?
Yeah, absolutely.
The way the transfer market is at the moment. We're getting nothing.
Yeah.
And that's down to bad management, not Arsene Wenger. It's down to the people who are running that side of things at Arsenal. And Levy doesn't let that happen at Spurs.
No,
and that's where you've got to give him credit.
Liam, you'd have to say Arsenal are exceptional in they're so badly run. If you look at Liverpool and Manchester City and other teams, I think that's what you should be comparing them with, not with Arsenal. Arsenal have been a disaster. With Klopp doing what he's doing at the moment, is doing it because he had the backing of the club and he sold players but got players in. Manchester City, as we know, they've done it, and other clubs. So, you know, I don't see him as the hero. I understand what you're saying, but I think it's very, very easy for the position that he's in not to spend money rather than spend money.
John, if I could just say something, John, sorry to interrupt you, just to back Liam up. Another club that really has been badly run in the last 7 or 8 years is Manchester United. So I think it's right that Liam is saying, okay, you know, we're taking this guy for granted a little bit, or you take for granted that big clubs will be properly run. And in fact, Arsenal and Manchester United would be two examples up the top. 4 clubs in England, really, and Chelsea in a way, that aren't being run particularly well.
Well, I don't think Chelsea. I wouldn't put Chelsea in.
No, maybe that's unfair. Yeah.
No, there is a point to it. I just wouldn't be a fan of Levy's. I think it does send a message to other clubs as well, from a manager's point of view, to make it more difficult for them, because other clubs will say, well, Levy has done it, Pochettino has done it in that way. And he has done a big job, there's no doubt. I'm not, they've built a new stadium, they didn't have the money and all that, Kelly. There has been a lot of things done, but I certainly wouldn't make him, and I know Liam is not either, making him a hero.
No, okay. Just the final question then. Liam, who do you think will end up with the cup?
Well, you'd have to say it should be Liverpool. With the form they showed over the course of the season, with the players they have up front, it should be them. But it's a one-off match,
Yes.
And I know we like to talk odds and things like that. Spurs are way overpriced at 4-1. What I'm going to do, I'm going to absolutely dread Spurs winning, right?
Yes.
Because what a week that'll be for Arsenal.
No,
people,
nightmare.
It'll be a nightmare, a nightmare week.
Yeah.
So I'm going to back Spurs. So if they
Would you like me to
at least I'm going to get a few bob, right?
Would you like me to back Spurs as well?
If they lose, I'm going to be a happy man. So there you go. That's the way I'm looking at it, Amy.
Okay, John. I think Trippier, the right back for Spurs, is a particular problem. I think that Mane, Robertson, going up that particular left side for Liverpool will be posed a threat. I think Liverpool have threats all over the place, actually. I think they'll win. And I think that's an area they could exploit. But what do you think is going to happen, insofar as you can call it?
Well, I don't bet Eamon, as you know, but I would, if I was putting a few bob on it, would be on Liverpool.
Yeah. And you did.
But, against Spurs, they're capable of winning it. There's no doubt. Spurs are capable of winning it. But and I think it'll be a terrific match. But it might, if I was doing the betting for myself, I'd put a few bob on Liverpool.
Right. And it's worth pointing out that Sissoko missed a sitter at Anfield to draw that match. And it was really outstanding defending by Van Dijk to push him onto his weak foot. But you did have a bet, John, on Liverpool, and I take it to win the league. That's your last bet ever. Anyway.
well, Eamon, if you look at the situation, I couldn't see City winning 14 matches on the bounce.
Yep.
To be honest, I mean that was extraordinary. That's why I fancied Liverpool to do what they did, but I didn't think City would win the 14 matches, and that's it. But a great race, and hopefully I think again. I think Liam mentioned it. If Larish could be the key to the match, could be.
Okay, as Karius was last year. Okay.